You failed again. And the worst part? You know exactly why. You saw it coming. You even promised yourself it wouldn't happen this time. But here you are. Same mistake, same outcome, same crushing disappointment. Here's what nobody tells you. Your mind doesn't want you to succeed. I know that sounds insane. But Sigmund Freud spent his entire life uncovering a terrifying truth. There's a part of you, hidden deep in your unconscious mind, that is actively working against everything you consciously want. It's sabotaging your relationships, your career, your health, your happiness. And the scariest part? You don't even know what's happening. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how your mind is keeping you trapped in failure. We're going deep into Freudian psychology to expose the invisible forces controlling your behavior. And more importantly, I'm going to teach you how to take back control. This won't be comfortable. Freud never was. But if you're tired of watching your life repeat the same painful patterns, if you're ready to stop being a prisoner of your own mind, stay with me. Because what you're about to discover will change everything. Before we dive in, do me a favor. If this video exposes something real inside you, hit that like button. And subscribe, because we're going places most psychology channels are too scared to go. Now, let's begin. You've noticed it, haven't you? That strange repetition in your life. The way you always end up in the same type of toxic relationship. The way every new job starts with hope and ends in burnout. The way you promise to change, and then you don't. Most people think this is bad luck, coincidence. Just the way life is. Freud had a different explanation. He called it repetition compulsion. Here's what it means. Your unconscious mind is forcing you to repeat painful experiences from your past, over and over, like a broken record stuck on the same scratched groove. You're not choosing these failures consciously. Something deeper, something hidden beneath your awareness, is pulling the strings like a puppet master you can't see. Think about it. That argument you keep having with your partner, doesn't it feel familiar? Like you've had this exact fight before with someone else, maybe even multiple people? The words change, the faces change, but the emotional core is identical. That's not an accident. That's not coincidence. Your mind is trying to recreate an unresolved trauma from your childhood. And until you face it, until you understand what your unconscious is trying to work through, you'll keep living the same nightmare in different costumes, different apartments, different jobs, different relationships. But the same story playing out again and again. The question is, what is your mind desperately trying to tell you? What wound from your past is still bleeding in your present? Right now, as you're watching this, there's a war happening inside your head. Freud discovered that your mind isn't one unified thing making clear decisions. It's three completely different forces, all fighting for control, all pulling you in different directions. And most of the time, you're not even aware of the battle raging inside you. First, there's the id. This is your primal self, your raw, unfiltered desires, your hunger, your lust, your rage, your greed. The id doesn't care about consequences, morality, or your future. It operates on pure impulse. It wants what it wants, and it wants it now. It's a screaming infant that never grew up, demanding immediate satisfaction without any concern for reality. Then there's the superego. This is your inner critic, your moral judge, your relentless prosecutor. It's all the rules your parents drilled into you, every should and must your teachers imposed, every expectation society loaded onto your shoulders. The superego is constantly telling you what you should do, shaming you for every mistake, punishing you for every forbidden desire, making you feel guilty for simply being human. And stuck in the middle, the ego, that's the conscious you trying desperately to navigate between these two tyrants, trying to satisfy your desires without destroying your life, trying to be good without hating yourself for existing. Here's the brutal truth. Most people's egos are pathetically weak, overwhelmed, exhausted from the constant battle. And when your ego loses control, disaster happens. When your ego collapses, one of two things happens, and both lead to self-destruction. Either your id takes over, and you spiral into impulsive, reckless behavior. You burn through your savings on pointless purchases. You cheat on your partner for a moment of pleasure. You explode in rage and destroy relationships. You chase every distraction, every high, every escape from reality. You become a slave to instant gratification, watching your long-term goals crumble while you chase short-term relief. Or your superego takes over, and you self-destruct through guilt, shame, and paralysis. You can't make any decision because nothing feels good enough. You procrastinate endlessly because you're terrified of making mistakes. You punish yourself with harsh self-criticism for the smallest imperfections. You reject opportunities because you don't feel worthy. You live in a prison of shoulds that slowly suffocates every authentic desire you have. Either way, you fail. The id-dominated person fails through chaos and impulsivity. The superego-dominated person fails through fear and inaction. Different paths, same destination. Disappointment, regret, and the sickening feeling that you're sabotaging yourself. And here's what makes this truly disturbing. You don't even realize which force is controlling you in any given moment. You think you're making conscious choices, but you're actually being manipulated by these unconscious powers fighting for dominance. So the real question isn't which force is winning. The question is, why is your ego so weak in the first place? Why can't you maintain control? The answer takes us back, way back, to a place most people don't want to look. Let me ask you something deeply personal. When you fail, what's the first thing you feel? Is it anger at yourself, crushing shame, a deep, visceral sense of, I'm not good enough and I never will be? That feeling didn't come from this current failure. That emotional response, that gut punch of inadequacy, came from something much earlier. Something that happened when you were too young to understand it, too powerless to fight it, too vulnerable to process it. Freud believed that everything, and I mean everything about who you are today, traces back to your childhood. Those first few years of your life shaped the entire architecture of your mind. The foundation of your personality was poured during those early experiences. And if something went wrong back then, if the foundation cracked, you've been unconsciously protecting that wound ever since. Maybe your parents were harsh, hypercritical. Nothing you did was ever good enough. Every achievement was met with, you could have done better. Every mistake was met with disappointment or anger. So your superego became a monster, an internalized version of those critical voices, constantly attacking you, telling you you're worthless. And now, as an adult, you sabotage yourself before anyone else can reject you. It's safer to fail on your own terms than to try and face their judgment. Or maybe your parents were neglectful, emotionally absent. They didn't teach you discipline, boundaries, or how to delay gratification. So your ID runs wild and you chase instant pleasure, destroying long-term goals because you never learned the internal structure of self-control. Or maybe, and this is the one people hate to admit, your parents were too protective. They solved every problem for you, shielded you from every discomfort, never let you struggle or fail. So you never developed a strong ego. And now, when life inevitably gets hard, you collapse. You don't have the psychological muscles to handle adversity. Here's the uncomfortable truth that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. You're not failing because you're lazy or stupid or cursed with bad luck. You're failing because a wounded child inside you is still running the show. And until you meet that child, understand that child's pain, and finally heal that child, absolutely nothing will change. Your mind is lying to you right now, and it's not doing it to be cruel or malicious. It's doing it to protect you, to shield you from truths that feel too painful, too overwhelming, too dangerous to face directly. Freud discovered something brilliant about human psychology. When reality becomes too painful to face, when the truth threatens to shatter your sense of self, your mind automatically creates defense mechanisms. These are psychological tricks, unconscious strategies to protect your fragile ego from collapse. But here's the devastating problem. These defenses don't actually solve anything. They don't heal the wound. They just bury the pain deeper where it festers and grows stronger in the darkness. Let me show you the most common defense mechanisms. See if you recognize yourself in any of these. Denial. I don't have a problem. I'm completely fine. Everyone else is overreacting or trying to sabotage me. You refuse to see the pattern, refuse to acknowledge the evidence right in front of you because seeing it means you'd have to face it. And facing it feels impossible. Rationalization. I didn't fail because I'm afraid of success or commitment. I failed because the timing was bad, or the market shifted, or people didn't understand my vision, or my partner wasn't supportive enough. You create logical sounding excuses, intellectual justifications that protect you from the raw emotional truth underneath. Projection. Everyone else is lazy and undisciplined and irresponsible, not me. You take your own flaws, your own shadow qualities, and project them onto other people so you don't have to face them in yourself. It's always their fault, never yours. Regression. When life gets hard, when you face real adult challenges, you retreat into childish behaviors, throwing emotional tantrums, avoiding all responsibility, numbing yourself with distractions, food, substances, or mindless entertainment. You become the child again, hoping someone will rescue you. Sublimation. This is the healthiest one, the most mature defense. You take destructive energy, rage, pain, sexual frustration, and channel it into something productive and meaningful. Rage becomes art. Pain becomes motivation to help others. Lust becomes passionate, creative work. Most people are stuck in the first four mechanisms. They keep failing because their psychological defenses won't let them see the real problem. They're fighting shadows while the real enemy remains hidden. And here's what you need to understand. Maintaining these defenses is exhausting. They drain your mental and emotional energy constantly. They keep your ego perpetually weak and overwhelmed. So the question becomes, how do you drop these defenses without completely falling apart? This is where it gets truly disturbing. You think you're in control of your decisions. You think you're making conscious, rational choices about your life based on your current circumstances and goals. But Freud would tell you something radically different, something that would probably offend you. You're not in control at all. You're following a script written by your unconscious mind decades ago, and you've been acting it out your entire life without realizing it. Let me prove it to you. Think about your last major failure. A relationship that fell apart despite your best efforts. A career opportunity you somehow sabotaged. A personal goal you abandoned right before achieving it. Really think about the details, the emotions, the patterns. Now think back to your childhood. Is there a similarity? A familiar emotional signature? A pattern that echoes across time? Did you fail because you were terrified of abandonment, just like when your parents divorced and your world shattered? Did you sabotage success because you unconsciously believe you don't deserve good things, just like your father told you, explicitly or implicitly, that you were a disappointment? Did you choose the wrong romantic partner, someone emotionally unavailable or critical because they reminded you of the parent you're still desperately trying to win approval from? Did you quit right before the finish line because achieving the goal would mean you'd have to face the next challenge, and some part of you is still terrified of being exposed as inadequate? This is what Freud meant by the unconscious. It's not just random thoughts floating around. It's not just buried memories. It's a complete, sophisticated, hidden system of beliefs, fears, desires, and survival strategies that control your behavior without you having any conscious awareness of it. Your unconscious has been writing the story of your life since you were a child. And until you become aware of that script, until you can see the invisible blueprint you're following, you'll keep acting it out automatically. Same fundamental characters, same underlying plot, same tragic ending, just different surface details. But here's the twist that nobody tells you. Becoming aware of the script is only the first step. Awareness alone doesn't magically rewrite the story. You need to do something most people are absolutely terrified to do. There's a part of you that you hide from everyone, even from yourself, especially from yourself. Carl Jung called it the shadow, but it comes directly from Freud's understanding of repression and the unconscious. It's every ugly thought you've ever had, every shameful desire you've pushed away, every dark impulse you've condemned as evil or unacceptable. It's every part of yourself that you've been taught is bad or wrong. It's the anger you're not allowed to express because you were taught that anger is destructive and shameful. It's the selfishness you've suppressed because you learned that caring about your own needs makes you a terrible person. It's the sexual thoughts and fantasies that make you feel dirty and guilty. It's the jealousy, the pettiness, the cruelty, the violent fantasies, the socially unacceptable desires. You think you've successfully buried all of this in the basement of your mind, locked it away where it can't hurt anyone. But repression doesn't destroy these impulses. It doesn't make them disappear. It just hides them from your conscious awareness. And here's the terrifying, counterintuitive truth that Freud discovered. When you repress something, when you refuse to acknowledge it and force it into the unconscious, it doesn't get weaker. It grows stronger in the darkness. It festers. It mutates. And it leaks out in ways you don't recognize or understand. You snap at your partner over something trivial, but it's really the accumulated rage you've been suppressing for years, maybe even decades. You procrastinate endlessly on your dream project, but it's really the fear of your own power, your own potential, that you've been taught to be ashamed of. You sabotage good opportunities and healthy relationships, but it's really the part of you that believes you're fundamentally bad, fundamentally flawed, and therefore don't deserve success or love. You develop mysterious physical symptoms, chronic pain or illness, because your body is expressing what your mind won't acknowledge. Freud's revolutionary, uncomfortable insight was this: you absolutely cannot control what you refuse to acknowledge. As long as your shadow remains unconscious, hidden in the basement, it will control you from the darkness. But the moment you shine a light on it, the moment you have the courage to face those dark parts of yourself, you gain power over them. Not by indulging every dark impulse. That's not integration. That's chaos. But by saying honestly, yes, I have anger. Yes, I have selfish desires. Yes, I have dark thoughts. And that's part of being a complete human being. Let me guess, you've tried to change before, haven't you? You set ambitious goals. You made detailed plans. You relied on pure willpower and determination. And for a few days, maybe even a few weeks, if you were particularly motivated, it actually worked. You felt in control. You felt powerful. You felt like this time would be different. Then something happened. Stress at work, a conflict in your relationship, an unexpected setback. And suddenly, like a house of cards in the wind, you collapsed back into old patterns. The diet ended, the exercise routine stopped, the productive habits vanished, and you hated yourself for it, adding another layer of shame and failure to the pile. Here's why this keeps happening, and why it will keep happening until you understand this. Willpower is a function of the ego. And if your ego is weak, exhausted, or overwhelmed, no amount of determination or motivation will save you. You're trying to win a war with an army that's already depleted. Freud understood this perfectly. You can't white-knuckle your way to permanent change. You can't just force yourself to be different through sheer determination. Because the unconscious force is working against you, your repetition compulsion, your defense mechanisms, your shadow, your unhealed childhood wounds, are vastly more powerful than your conscious will. It's like trying to swim against a tsunami. You might make progress for a few moments, but eventually the wave will drag you under. So what actually works? What creates real, lasting change? First, deep awareness. You can't change what you can't see. This means brutal honesty with yourself. Journaling every day about your patterns. Therapy with someone who won't let you hide behind your defenses. Self-reflection that goes beyond surface thoughts into uncomfortable emotional territory. You need to become fully conscious of the patterns running in the background of your mind. Second, integration. Stop fighting parts of yourself. Your dark impulses aren't your enemies. They're signals. Your fears aren't weaknesses. They're protections that once served you. Your shame isn't proof you're bad. It's evidence that you internalized someone else's judgment. Listen to these parts. Understand what they're trying to protect you from. Third, sublimation. Channel destructive energy somewhere productive. Angry? Use it to fuel intense workouts or passionate creative work. Anxious? Use that nervous energy to prepare thoroughly and take action. Lustful? Channel that life force into building something meaningful with a partner or creating something beautiful. Fourth, systematically strengthen your ego. This is the key that most people miss. Your ego is like a muscle. It needs consistent training. Every time you pause between impulse and action, you strengthen it. Every time you observe your thoughts without immediately reacting to them, you strengthen it. Every time you sit with discomfort instead of immediately numbing it with distractions, you strengthen it. Small daily practices build enormous long-term strength. Here's a brutally honest question. If you already know what you need to do to succeed, if you already understand intellectually what changes would transform your life, why don't you just do it? Freud had a precise answer. The pleasure principle. Your id, that primal part of your mind, is hardwired for one singular purpose: immediate pleasure and immediate relief from any discomfort. It doesn't think about your future. It has zero concern for your long-term goals. It doesn't care about the person you want to become or the life you want to build. It wants to feel good right now, in this exact moment, and it will hijack your entire behavioral system to make that happen. And here's the fundamental problem with growth and success. They require discomfort. Real achievement requires delayed gratification. Building something meaningful requires suffering through extended periods of boredom, frustration, uncertainty, and fear. It requires doing things that feel bad in the short term to create results that feel good in the long term. Your ID absolutely hates this concept. It experiences delayed gratification as a threat to survival. So what does it do? It hijacks your decision-making process at the unconscious level. It makes you reach for your phone and scroll social media instead of working on your important project. It makes you binge Netflix instead of having that difficult but necessary conversation. It makes you choose the easy, comfortable, familiar path, even when your conscious mind knows it leads absolutely nowhere. This is the real reason you fail. Not because you don't have enough information, not because you don't know what to do, but because your id is screaming louder than your goals, and your weak ego can't resist its demands. Freud contrasted this with what he called the reality principle. That's when your ego has developed enough strength to delay gratification, to tolerate discomfort in service of meaningful goals, to choose long-term success over short-term pleasure. But most people never develop this capacity. They remain stuck in the pleasure principle their entire lives, like children who never psychologically mature. And then they wonder, with genuine confusion, why nothing ever fundamentally changes in their lives. Here's the shift that changes everything. You have to make growth genuinely more rewarding than comfort. Not through lies or toxic positivity, but by training your mind to associate effort with pleasure, discipline with freedom, discomfort with pride and self-respect. When you can feel genuine satisfaction from doing hard things, when you can experience real pleasure from growth instead of just comfort, you've cracked the code. Everything I've told you so far, the repetition compulsion keeping you trapped, the war between id, ego, and superego, the childhood wounds still bleeding into your present, the unconscious script you've been following, the shadow you've been hiding from, all of it comes down to one single central thing: the story you tell yourself about who you are. Freud believed that every person constructs an internal narrative, a story about their fundamental identity, their worth, their capabilities, their place in the world. And that story was written primarily in childhood, usually by trauma, by rejection, by unmet needs, by painful experiences that your young mind tried desperately to make sense of. Maybe your core story is, I'm not good enough and I never will be. Maybe it's, People always abandon me, so I shouldn't get attached. Maybe it's, I'm fundamentally broken and damaged beyond repair. Maybe it's, I don't deserve good things happening to me. And here's the absolutely devastating truth that most people never realize. As long as you believe that core story about yourself, as long as it remains your unconscious operating system, you will automatically, involuntarily create situations in your life that prove it's true. You'll sabotage healthy relationships to confirm that people always leave. You'll fail at important goals to confirm that you're not good enough. You'll stay stuck in dysfunction to confirm that you're broken. You'll reject opportunities to confirm that you don't deserve success. It's not conscious. You're not doing it on purpose. But it's absolutely real. Your unconscious mind is the most powerful force in your psychology, and it will bend reality to match your internal narrative. So how do you rewrite the story? How do you change the fundamental narrative that's been controlling your entire life? Step 1. Identify the core story with complete honesty. What's the deepest belief you have about yourself? Not the surface beliefs, but the gut-level conviction that shapes everything. Write it down. Look at it directly. See how it's been silently shaping every decision, every relationship, every outcome in your life. Step 2. Understand where this story came from. Whose voice is this really? Is it actually true about you? Or is it something you internalized from a parent's disappointment, a teacher's criticism, a traumatic experience, a cultural message? Separate what's real from what was imposed on you. Step 3. Consciously create a new story. Not a delusional fantasy, not toxic positivity that ignores reality, but a story rooted in truth, in your actual strengths, in the person you're genuinely becoming through this work. I've struggled, but I'm actively learning and growing. I've failed, but each failure teaches me something valuable. I've been hurt, but I'm courageously healing. I've been afraid, but I'm building real strength. And this isn't about lying to yourself or pretending everything is fine. It's about choosing which truth to build your identity around. We've come full circle now. You started this video tired of failing, frustrated with yourself, wondering why you can't seem to break free from the same painful patterns that keep destroying your relationships, your career, your dreams, your peace of mind. Now you know the truth, the uncomfortable, liberating truth. You're not weak. You're not broken beyond repair. You're not cursed with terrible luck or bad genetics. You're just unconscious. You've been operating on autopilot, following scripts written decades ago, controlled by forces you couldn't see or understand. But now, you can see them. You understand the war between your id, ego, and superego, and why your ego needs to be strengthened. You understand the childhood wounds that are still driving your adult behavior. You understand the defense mechanisms that have been lying to you, protecting you from truths you need to face. You understand the shadow, those dark parts of yourself you've been hiding from, and why integration is more powerful than repression. You understand the unconscious script you've been following and how it's been determining your outcomes. You understand why willpower alone fails and what actually creates lasting change. You understand the pleasure principle and why you keep choosing comfort over growth. And most importantly, you understand that you have the power to rewrite your internal narrative, to change the fundamental story that shapes your entire life. Freud once said something profound. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Read that again. Let it sink in. Every unlucky thing that's happened to you, every pattern that seemed like cruel fate, every relationship that mysteriously failed the same way, every goal you somehow sabotaged, none of it was fate. It was your unconscious mind following its programming. But that means something incredible. If it's not fate, if it's psychology, then it can be changed. That's the choice in front of you right now, in this exact moment. You can close this video, go back to your life, and keep repeating the same patterns. Keep blaming external circumstances, bad luck, other people. Keep wondering why nothing ever fundamentally changes while doing nothing to change the internal programming. Or you can make the unconscious conscious. You can commit to doing the hard, uncomfortable, deeply challenging work of looking at yourself with complete honesty, of facing your shadow, of healing your childhood wounds, of strengthening your ego, of rewriting the narrative that's been controlling you. Freud never promised this would be easy. He never sugarcoated the difficulty of real psychological transformation. But he did promise it would be worth it. Because on the other side of this work, freedom. Real, genuine freedom. Not the fake freedom of doing whatever your impulses demand, but the deep freedom of finally being in conscious control of your own mind and life. A life where you're no longer a prisoner of your own psychology, where you understand your patterns and can change them, where you can choose your responses instead of being controlled by unconscious reactions, where you can build the relationships, career, and life you actually want instead of unconsciously sabotaging them. So here's my final question for you, and I need you to answer it honestly. Are you ready to stop failing? Are you really ready to force yourself to take control of your mind? If the answer is yes, the work starts right now, not tomorrow. not when you feel more motivated, not when circumstances are better. Now, the unconscious is already directing your life. The only question is, will you make it conscious, or will you keep calling it fate?